Hey everybody, starting our stoichiometry unit today, and we're going to start off with problems with food before moving on to things like moles and grams and things of that nature. So we're working off of this right here, problems with food, so follow along with me. We're doing example 1, let's make sandwiches. So every recipe, if you've ever followed a recipe before, like if you make cookies, you have to have 1 cup flour, 2 cups sugar, a cup of chocolate chips, etc., etc. There's specific measurements. Well, you're typically given more than you need, and you have to measure out what you actually need, right? So in this case, we are starting off with 5 slices of cheese and a bread box that have 8 slices of bread. Well, first we need to determine how much it takes to make 1 sandwich. So that's what we do on step 1. And step 1 on this problem is already done for you. And we're writing it in equation form. So you can see there on step 1, the way it's written out, you need 2 slices of bread plus 1 slice of cheese, and that will produce 1 grilled cheese sandwich. So that's our basic recipe. So that's the type of thing you would do on step 1 is you figure out your basic recipe for 1 sandwich. 2 slices of bread plus 1 slice of cheese will produce 1 grilled cheese sandwich. Now, we need to determine, using ratios, and what we already have been given, how many sandwiches we can make based on what we've been given. So it's visualized for you there in step 2. You see we have 8 pieces of bread, and we have 5 slices of cheese. So how many sandwiches could we make based on this recipe right here? We're using this recipe. These are the ingredients we've been given. How many sandwiches can we make? Well, we have 8 pieces of bread. If we set up a ratio, it takes 2 pieces of bread to make 1 sandwich. So a 2-to-1 ratio. We have 8. We have to keep that 2-to-1 ratio true, so you just have to do 8 divided by 2. So 8 pieces of bread can make a total of 4 sandwiches. So at most, with this bread, we could make 4 sandwiches using this 2-to-1 ratio. And we got that from here. 2 slices of bread produce 1 sandwich. Now if we look down here, we have 5 slices of cheese. Now if we look at our recipe, how many slices of cheese do we need to make 1 sandwich? You need 1 slice of cheese for every 1 sandwich. So that is a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay? So that means if we have 5 slices of cheese, we can make 5 sandwiches. 1-to-1, 5-to-5. Same thing, there we go. Now, looking at this, how many sandwiches can we actually make? You have a 1-to-1 ratio here, which means we can make 5 sandwiches with the cheese. And we have a 2-to-1 ratio here, 8-to-4. We can make 4 sandwiches with the bread. Well, we can't have an additional sandwich just because we have the cheese because we don't have the bread that's necessary. So in total, you have to take whichever one is lower, and that's how many sandwiches you can actually make based on your ingredients. So we could make a total of 4 sandwiches. So that would be step 2, determining how many sandwiches we can make based on ratios. You always have to make whichever one ends up being the lowest. This is called the limiting reactant. Whichever one is the lowest, that's how many sandwiches you could actually make in this scenario. So now we have to write out the correct equation. Our correct equation you have to use based on the ingredients you have been given. So you have to use 8 and you have to use 5 on the reactant side, and then you have to use 4 on the product side. So you would have 8 slices of bread, that's how much we've been given, 8 slices of bread, plus we've been given 5 pieces of cheese or slices of cheese, and we put that all together, and how many sandwiches did we determine we could make? 4. We could make a total of 4 grilled cheese sandwiches. Now if we look back at this, the reason we can only make 4 grilled cheese sandwiches, we will have 1 leftover piece of cheese, but we only had 8 pieces of bread. So with our given amount of bread, we can only make 4 sandwiches. So we have to deal with the 1 leftover piece of cheese, and we can only end up making 4 sandwiches because we have to make 4 complete sandwiches. So that's our first example. Let's make sandwiches. Our next video is going to be making Easter baskets, and I'm slowly going to give you less and less instruction as you do them on your own with stoichiometry, which is basically just balancing out these different ratios. All right, farewell.